is where someone pays willingly. And for the indirect taxes, sometimes you find yourself paying these taxes and you're not even aware that you're paying these taxes. Like, there's no way you can dodge paying these taxes.
Yes, there's all of us are paying the value-added tax.
Example. Okay.
VAT, all of us are paying VAT. In everything you're buying, you guys, I don't know if you've ever noticed, for example, you're going to bank something, on your receipt, there is VAT, there is excise duty.
Yeah.
But for VAT, it is value-added tax. It is for value addition, I think.
Anyway,
VAT.
under direct taxes, we have income tax and other forms of taxes, but I'm going to emphasize on the income tax.
Yeah.
Under income tax, we have employee tax, we have property tax, we have business tax.
Yeah.
Of course, business taxes are paid by businesses. Employee taxes are paid by employees, for example, pay as you earn.
Yeah.
And then there is property tax. For example, you're owning an apartment in the city, you have to pay tax for that. If you have a car, you'll have to pay tax for that. Yes.
There is that 40% increment on the employee tax by URA for guys who have the second employment.
Yeah.
Yes. As you know, people who are employed, twice, you're paying that second. There's that increment you are put.
But you also
there's also that also. But these are facts people should consider when, you're doing those two jobs, when you're exporting and importing.
Yeah.
Those taxes are very crucial because record keeping, you have to write down those things as you're running your business.
Speaking of record keeping, when it comes to taxes, there are certain requirements that one needs. Take for instance, someone has a business. Some of the requirements, one that I would emphasize on is pay your taxes. Avoid any trouble, any problems with the government.
Yes.
Pay your taxes in time and fully, like the full amount. By all means, try and pay your taxes.
Actually, someone was saying one time that there are two roads. In case, like, you mentioned junction, where when you're carrying out, for example, business, there are two roads. There's one to success and there's one to failure.
Yeah.
And so, you may take the one to success. But because you failed to follow some prompts, you'll find that maybe after 5 years or 10 years of you succeeding and you growing, your business is booming. But because you didn't pay taxes, these guys are just going to wake up one morning, come, and perhaps you've not recorded your books like you guys have said. They'll just calculate and assume. They'll be like, maybe these years were good or bad, and they'll just add to it, and like, depending on whatever you were selling or whatever was coming into the business, and tell you this is what you're supposed to pay. So that's why you hear that people out of the blue, they're demanding them 55 million of tax, and out of the blue, your business loses the money just like that, and then you come back to this junction, and before you know it, now you're choosing failure, you're moving down failure. So guys, please do your taxes.
Yeah, and also, before we forget this, before anything, register your business with URA, Uganda Revenue Authority. They are always there for you, online and at their offices.
Yes.
Just make sure, I think that should even be the first requirement when it comes to taxation.
When you open that business.
Yeah, when you open that business, register it.
Get that TIN number. Get that TIN, that tax identification number.
Okay.
You can go... The tax identification number, you can go on the URA website.
Yeah.
You actually just launch and you access everything.
And it's a short process, it's not difficult. Yeah.
And whenever you have that TIN number, you have your business identified by Uganda Revenue Authority.
And also keeping in mind that record keeping, we talked about record keeping. Keep all your financial transactions when it comes to URA. Those receipts you're being given that you've paid these taxes, just keep them. No matter how old that piece of paper is, just keep it in case of anything.
And there's how these receipts keep fading. You just photocopy, keep it. Because URA guys are going to come at your own business one day and they're asking for receipts. You don't even have that certificate URA gives out. You don't even have it.
Yeah.
So as a person in business, no matter how hard or busy you are, please keep those records, maintain those receipts. You can't even put that car receipt in a frame for recognition.
But I would want to talk about getting a TIN. You could get an individual TIN or you could get a company TIN. And so for a company TIN, of course, it will need documents like certificate of incorporation, registration, board members of the board, and all those things. But then for individual TIN, all you need is just your passport,
email.
So if you lack a passport, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you lack a national ID,
you're not serious.
And also a driver's license.
Yeah.
3 things.
Even your email. Okay. Email it's a better passport name.
Yeah, you can get.
Yeah, but
so
you need your
those 3 things plus internet access and you have an individual tin. And remember, your members of board still, as you're getting a tin, still in those documents, they should also have tin numbers still to show that they are compliant to the government.
Well, as we continue this conversation, as always, we have our street family, whereby they come in to give us their juicy information and details about taxation. Guys, enjoy.
When you find yourself here in business, we pay a lot of taxes. Like this shop here, we have to pay trade license and other taxes. But when you move down there, you may find these people called the Batembe, they are down there all over, yet they are not paying taxes. But we as business people, it's not that we don't want to pay taxes. We want to pay taxes because the country cannot move without people do not pay taxes. Now those are the challenges people faces. Because most of the taxes, business people do not understand, the traders here in downtown. They don't understand. They do not understand. That's why I'm trying to, you try all your best, the URA people, to come and teach.
Welcome back from the street family. Please share the link, and always tune in on to Smart 24 TV every 10 a.m. on Saturday. We are 372 on DSTV and 394 on GOTV. Please don't forget to watch. Sadly, from the streets, I realized that people really fear tax. People fear tax.
Yeah.
Actually, people think the government is stealing from them. Can you imagine?
Yeah. But do you know, at the end of the day, we are paying these taxes on the data you're buying, on almost everything you're buying. Those shops.
Told you about.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're
But
paying.
you
Indirect, but you're paying.
guys, if the people who are registered and paying, if the businesses, for example, and the maybe individuals paying tax at 2.6 million, and the population is 40 million, honestly, why would you complain about a road that has not been constructed when you're not paying tax?
That's the whole point.
How do you think the government is going to serve us?
Wait, the government isn't actually using it's actually using our taxes, I mean. It is actually using them.
Yeah.
According to what I'm seeing, for example, as I'm heading home, there's that, that thing, that road they've constructed.
Yeah.
You guys, watch out for it. It's going to be a beautiful. Those are our taxes out there. The street family, most of the people we interacted with, they're the informal businesses. And sadly about it is the way they generate their income.
Yeah.
You see, if I'm selling something, I'm selling, I have a small kiosk. The money I'm getting is not the money someone in Garden City, actually in Garden City is having.
Yeah.
It's a very different amount. But then when it comes to taxing, I don't know, do they tax according to business?
Yeah, like I said, there is a certain percentage, and it's according to what you're earning. Like someone that is getting 1M will not be taxed the same way someone is getting 300K.
Yes, but convincing someone of 300K to go and register their business as a QRSP and get that cash certificate of URA is another long process.
Yeah, that's why we are here to simplify their lives.
Those things like my business is a small one.
Yeah.
Where am I even going to write?
Which money?
First of all, okay, I don't understand that people have excuses, but most importantly, they have fear. You get?
Yeah.
But please don't fear, because first of all, Jesus said, please pay the taxes.
Amen.
And then the government, you are always complaining about roads not being constructed.
Yeah.
Do you know that the government is always borrowing lots of money? Imagine it's a family, and for you to take care of your family, you have to borrow 50% to provide them food, to provide them with education. But if we pay the taxes, then the government won't have to borrow anyway.
If we take that whole government rule summary, it will be a difficult one, honestly.
Okay, anyway.
If you're to realize, do you know in our country, I'm just going to be honest about it, in our country, most of them, let me call them the middle income earners, they are the most taxed people than the rich people. Have you realized that? So there is no way you'll explain to someone down there, someone that is trying to survive, take their kids to school, or even to maybe take care of their family, that I should keep on paying taxes when the rich people are not paying.
Then, okay, I understand your standpoint, and I really understand. Actually, I remember someone writing and saying that the only way you could get rich is by reducing the taxes you're paying. Okay, this is a small thing. Okay, something that I think, please don't come and arrest me. I think maybe you could just look for the loopholes. And then, when those, because of course when there is no law against these loopholes, they are there and there is no law saying that don't do this.
Yeah.
And that's maybe how you could dodge the taxes and maybe your business booms.
Yeah.
But please, people, be compliant. Because at the end of the day, maybe that rich person is, okay, I don't want to say above the law. But for you, if you're below the law, yes?
Yes.
there is that they're going to come for you. You're going to lose everything that you spent day and night working for.
Yeah. Anyways, at the end of it all, paying taxes is a good thing, you guys. It's really important. One, it helps you be a good citizen, like be a good example in your country. The government will trust you. The investors that come into the country, they'll have to trust your business.
They'll be
or
enticed.
even, yeah.
So Uganda Revenue Authority is a body for our country, as you get Uganda Revenue Authority. It regulates all the tax collection things. It does the T number giving. It does the IFRIS, that is the electronic registration. It everything you need about taxes and taxation. Go to Nakawa. The entire thing is for you guys to serve you and to inform you about taxation. Well, it is also investing a lot of time. If you go on their Twitter, you see that I've gone to different places teaching people taxes, taxation. It is called tax education. Also, on Smart 24 TV, we have that time. We have the expert telling us more about taxation too. So as a person who is doing business or anyone engaging into business, it is your responsibility, well, to understand taxation. Because we keep on learning these things from different people. And I think as you're watching the launch, you're learning how important taxation is. Speaking of tax education, we have our very own tax expert. She is from Uganda Revenue Authority. She's going to tell us more about taxation.
For anybody, whether you are in business or not, you are a taxpayer. And in Uganda, we run what we call a self-assessment regime in terms of taxes. So taxes would be that portion of your income, if you are earning an income as an employee, or if you are earning an income as a business, or if you are consuming a product or service that is taxable. Okay? That is what you pay to the government is what we call a tax. A tax is a legal requirement. Taxes are put by laws all around the world. So you'll find that there is a requirement for we as citizens of the country to be able to give a portion of our income to the government, to be able to finance government goods, services, government expenditure in terms of development, recurrent expenditure. So that is how governments run. Governments run on taxes. Governments are not businesses or do not engage in businesses to make a profit, to get money to be able to provide for all of us. Taxes are also on the premise that not all of us probably have the means to sustain ourselves. Not all of us can build roads, isn't it? Not all of us can be able probably to provide the necessary health we may need in terms of infrastructure. Not all of us can generate electricity and distribute it where we need it. So there are those public goods that can only be done by a government, and for them to do so is that they are able to collect some taxes from different individuals within the country, those who are eligible, and that is the pool of money that is used to finance our public goods. So there are some people who pay taxes and some who do not. People who pay taxes are those we call eligible under the law. In Uganda, anybody who is earning 10 million shillings and below does not pay taxes. Anybody who earns above 10 million shillings in a year will pay taxes, but also in varying degrees. If you're earning between 10 million shillings and 150 million shillings, those are people we call small, if you're in business, small businesses, those ones pay what we call presumptive tax. And it goes in categories from about 10 million, if you're earning about 20 million, 10 million to 20 million, you may be paying about 100,000 shillings a year in taxes. If you're earning about 20 million to 30 million, you may be paying about 200,000 a year. So it goes on progressive. But for employees, if an employee is earning above 10 million shillings, you'll be paying 30%. So it is more expensive in terms of taxes on employees than on businesses. So sometimes it's better to be a business. But the concept of taxation is that portion of our incomes that we give to the government to be able to run the day. Now, taxes, we have first two fundamentals in terms of taxation. We have what we call the direct taxes and also the indirect taxes. Now, the direct taxes are taxes that you pay when either you are in employment, you are in business, or you have an investment. So any income you generate from those sources is taxed and directly on you. Meaning that if you are an employee, that means your employer withholds what we call pay as you earn and submits it to URA. It is directly on your income. If you are in business, you have a business income. So you will have to pay either corporation tax or business income tax at the end of the year. That's why we say you have to file a return to show how much you have earned in a year minus the expenses you have incurred for us to know how much tax you will be able to pay. And if you have an investment, you are either earning interest or dividends, and you're also expected to pay taxes on that. The others are the indirect taxes. Indirect taxes are usually charged on the products and services that are taxable that you consume. So the tax is not on you, but it is on the products and services that you do consume. So usually there are some imported and locally manufactured products that usually have taxes like we call excise duty, like value-added tax, okay? Those are taxes and they only get paid when you consume that product or service. True. There are products that are not vatable, and usually we have what we call the VAT Act. It is a law. It prescribes which products in a country basically pay VAT and at what rate. The rate for VAT in Uganda is 18% VAT, and it is on usually consumables. Many of the products you'll find like alcohols, soft drinks, the things we buy even in the supermarkets, sugar, those, most of them have VAT. Services like if you go to the cinema, if you go to a hotel and ABCD, those services will also have VAT. But not all services. They have to be gazetted within the VAT Act to apply VAT. I think it's also important to note that not every business collects VAT. I think it's important to note VAT is a consumption tax. Like I said, you pay tax for a product you're consuming. So it is paid by a person consuming, right? It is not paid by the business. A business collects the VAT and remits it to URA. So that means for you to be able to collect VAT, you must be gazetted as a VAT agent. So the minister will have put a gazette and said, like in Uganda, we know, if you're a business that earns 150 million and above, you will have been designated as a VAT agent. So you will have to register for VAT. But there are also some exclusion. So for example, government-aided schools, have nothing to do with VAT, So there will be also those services, health services have nothing to do with VAT. So there will be certain services that have exclusions. So in the VAT Act, there is a schedule, I think it is the second schedule, if I'm not mistaken, that clearly shows items that are exempted from VAT. So in that law, if a service or product is not listed in the second schedule, then it is liable for VAT. If it is listed, then it does not. You can't charge VAT on it. Equally, if you are not a VAT registered agent as a business, you don't collect. That's why it's incumbent on you as a taxpayer, as a citizen, to make sure that you're not paying VAT to a person who is not registered for VAT. Otherwise, if you pay taxes, that is VAT tax, to somebody not registered, that means you're paying more for your products and services, because that person will not remit that tax to URA. They will just have taken it. So you're only spending more. The only sure way for you to know that you're actually making the necessary contribution in terms of VAT taxation is that somebody will give you a receipt. Today we use what we call e-receipts, because all VAT registered persons are now supposed to be using what we call the electronic physical receipting and invoicing system. So you will clearly be able to see that there is a component of VAT, and once that receipt has been issued, URA is notified automatically in real time that you have paid VAT tax.
We'll be back from our expert, and thank you so much. Thanks for educating the young people. We're knowing that and right about now, we are going to take a short commercial break, and we are going to be right back.
Smart 24, driving business.
The Uganda Development Corporation is a government-owned investment firm tasked with promoting Uganda's industrial and economic development.
Sorot Fruit Factory is our flagship project. Its aim is to grow that business of adding value to fruits in this country. This country is endowed with a lot of resources. NADSO WC have been supplying inputs to farmers. The inputs are reaching a period where we need to add value. Talk about fruits, we are going to have a challenge if we don't move fast with the value addition component. So Soroti Fruit Factory is meant to address this gap, to process fruits, and mainly oranges and mangoes.
The Sorot Fruit Factory and Teju products are valid certification permits of UNBS because we renew them after 1 year.
Our membership are normally primary cooperatives, and we have 59 primary cooperatives. But when you translate that into individual membership, we have close to 6,000 members. Our area of coverage is very large. We cover 10 districts. We have estimated 80 million fruiting trees in Teso. And every season, we have 2 seasons, first season and second season. First season, we normally get around over 800,000 tons. That's why you find, the farmers have to look for other markets like in Kenya, Rwanda, and sometimes Southern Sudan.
We must clearly understand the aspect of a cooperative. A cooperative is a voluntary organization formed by members for the members, and it is democratic. They carry out their own decisions on how to perform. But for me, particularly the Soroti Fruit Factory was initially supposed to assist Soroti fruit growers. So what happens is that the government, in its wisdom, made a partnership. We organized the Soroti fruit growers into a cooperative society. This was an opportunity for them to come together. You produce differently, but you'll be able to market it together.
We are in a race for development with other nations. This UDC is one hell of an ammunition. that we can use for our country. So, but we need to oil the ammunition. UDC and government and private sector, let's get our act together.
We are also the biggest makers of concentrate, orange concentrate and mango pulp in the country. For oranges, we buy Hamelin, Washington Naval, Valencia.
We used to bring it fully from import. Now part of this import we substituted with the Soroti orange. Like that way, and in future also we are, because it is available in good quality fruits, pulps are available now here.
Do take it to Soroti Fruit Factory. I have about 280 trees. Those oranges have enabled me to do so many things. I've educated my children now. Many of them have graduated. I've managed to build my house.
This fruit farm is quite productive, because this is one of the source of income for our family, to see how we can extend this farm even up to the village, because we started some in the village.
If you plant the oranges and you look after them well, by the 10th year, you will be getting 24 million from 1 acre. From 1 acre. So that's why the NRM recommended that now, for the 4 acres model, number 1, coffee, if you are in an area which can grow coffee. Number 2, fruits.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
Smart 24, driving business.
On with taxation, there's something that is budging my mind right now. Do you know where someone has like a shop, you've rented somewhere, and you have, let's say, you have jewelry, you have this other part, you're selling bags and shoes.
Then one
thing that disturbs me is, why are those people taxed twice just because we have 2 different things in the shop?
I think, going back to our definition, it is money collected from your earnings and property.
I know it is.
It is a different property, so it has to come for you in a different way.
When it belongs to me, it's my shop.
But honestly,
I feel like it's so unfair.
I think if you're taxing twice, and especially if they're not the same products, there are some differences that would come up, you know, and then this would honestly have a toll on the business.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially if you're not performing so well. Sometimes, like, you pass through town and people are just seated in their shops. There are no customers coming by, and at the end of that day, your will still have to come. But most importantly, you said earlier on that there is a variation when they are taxing. Honestly, if you've not recovered or if you've not had an income that is chargeable, then of course they won't tax you, provided your books are clear. Yes? Yeah, I think. But other than that, anyway, what would you do?
I know, but I just
give
feel
what
like it's
belongs
so
to
unfair.
Caesar to Caesar.
I just feel like it's so unfair. By the time that shop belongs to me and the business is mine, okay. By the time someone
then just sell one
two different products,
just sell one product.
What if
No, you won't get enough money. To seize this argument about taxation, well, we have an expert from Uganda Revenue Authority who is going to be digesting with us and explaining detail by detail what to do when you're taxing, how, where, why, which product, and what money for that product. Well, keep watching the launch and enjoy.
Now, a TIN is a tax identification number. And this is a unique identifier for every taxpayer with URA. Your interface with URA is through a tax identification number. I would want to equate it to the equivalent of a national identification number. It is what identifies you as a citizen. In the citizens database in Uganda, what shows who you are is that unique national identification number. For purposes of taxes, it's the tax identification number. Now, this number is only got when you register for taxes. And when you register for taxes, that means you are a formal business. Now, in Uganda, we have many businesses that are operating informally. And that has brought challenges even for the country, because that means even the government cannot plan adequately for its people, its businesses. Businesses need a certain environment to thrive. You need roads, you need electricity, you'll need water. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes in you to be able to successfully run a business. But because many businesses are informal and maybe even not known, not even registered anywhere, the government doesn't know you were there, so they cannot adequately plan for you. Two, because many businesses are informal, that's why you may also realize that many businesses can start in Uganda because we are very innovative, but many also fail simply because of the level of informality. You being unknown to the systems that would have facilitated you is a disadvantage to you. Getting things like business loans, getting business-to-business transactions. If you wanted to supply something to URA, we expect you to have a TIN, because that means you are formal. You're formalized as a business and you are registered. If you wanted to supply Coca-Cola, MTN, or even any other business, they're going to require a TIN, because that TIN also helps them in their transactions when they're declaring their taxes. If they buy something from you, they need to be able to tell the taxman that in my year of operation, these are the costs I incurred to earn this income. Those costs are usually deducted from the income before you compute tax. The only way you can identify is to show us from whom did you buy them, and the tax identification number is necessary. If it's not there, then it's inadmissible. So businesses will be fearful of transacting business with small businesses that are not registered, that don't pay tax, that are not having a tax identification number. So the first point of call is business formalization. Businesses need to be able to register, and registration of a business is at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. So you register a business, you register a business name, now there you're becoming formal. When you register a business, then now you need a tax identification number, because it's going to help you in transacting in terms of taxes, because it's an obligation. You cannot earn an income as an individual or a non-individual without paying taxes. How will you do that? You do that through a tax identification number. So once you have a tax identification number, that means you have an account with URA, you have a ledger with URA. So every time you submit taxes, we'll identify them by the tax identification number. If you need a refund, you have to quote the tax identification number. Anything that basically you're engaging with the taxman, the tax identification number is key. Those tax identification numbers are needed by other businesses you transact with, because they also have to indicate them when making their returns, filing their returns, either at the end of the month or at the end of the year. Okay, you'll find that people need also a tax identification number when you're bidding. It is some people will they will require for a tax clearance certificate to show that you don't owe any taxes. But how do you get a tax clearance certificate? You have to go through your tax identification number and apply for it from URA. The person we know who you are is the tax identification number. So you'll find that it's a critical piece of one requirement in terms of tax legislation. It's a requirement for business transactions. Today, if you're going to buy a car and you're going to transact, either sell a car, change ownership of a car, you need a tax identification number. If you buy a piece of land that is 10 million shillings and above, for it to be registered in your name and whether you're the person who is selling to you, you need a tax identification number. It is now a requirement in many business transactions, and that's why it is very critical. We have made it simple and easy and also free. It doesn't cost anything to get a tax identification number. In the past, there used to be, for you to get a tax identification number, you had to go on the website of URA and you download an Excel sheet. It had 80 fields you needed to fill. So it took time. So people did not have that patience. So you either get somebody to help you do that. And people used to charge money for that. People would charge you 100,000 shillings, 150, and sometimes even when you submitted that, if there are errors and so on, there were issues, it would take a long time. We have simplified that process to enable and facilitate businesses in that area. The tin now is free and is instant. You can get it on your phone, you can get it when you go on a computer or a laptop on the website, and it only now takes 10 fields. You only fill 10 fields, and as soon as you submit, your tin will display on the screen. So it is instant, it is free. We have tried very hard, and we continue to try to create this awareness so that people know. People should not be hoodwinked, should not be cheated, should not be defrauded to think that you have to pay for a tin, that you need exceptional approval. The tin is instant, is free, and that can help you to manage a lot of business processes. We did not reduce the fields, but we have adopted technology. So what we have done, we realized that many of the fields we are requiring you to fill in the 80 were already existing. That information already exists somewhere else. And one area was with your national ID. This is the same information you are giving to NIRA. So that's why today, if you are acquiring a tin using our instant free process, you need either a national identification number and your phone number, okay? Once you put your national identification number in there, 3/4 of the fields that you used to use before, in the back end, get filled. In fact, as you process, even you realize your name will be filled there for you because you put in your date of birth and so on will be filled for you so you'll find that our processes are now linked with the NIRA processes to help people ease that process. So it's only about 10 fields that are unique about what business you're doing because NIRA doesn't know that, where are you operating, NIRA doesn't know that, those are the fields that you'll be able to fill and you're good to go. I think I need to first elaborate that the prosperity of a country today can now be evaluated based on how much taxes that country collects. If you look at the developed countries, every country that we call developed, there is no developed country that collects less than 20% of taxes to GDP. GDP is the gross domestic product, the volume of goods and services that circulate within the country in terms of money value, right? Developed countries are way above in collecting a percentage of that as taxes. If you look at countries like Norway, they collect 35% of tax to GDP. If you go to the United States, they may be collecting about 40% of their tax to GDP, and these are big economies. So if you are collecting taxes efficiently as a country, in terms of tax to GDP, that means you can do much more even for your country in terms of infrastructure, in terms of supporting your people, health, education, and these kind of things. When you collect little money of your tax to GDP, also your support to your people will be chintu chidogo. Are we together? So that is the first starting point we need to appreciate. Now, where are we as Uganda? Uganda collects, our tax to GDP right now is 13% tax to GDP. It has actually languished between 11 and 12% for the last 10 years. The 1 percentage point, we have earned that in the last 1.5 years, and with a lot of effort that goes in it. The point there is we are collecting very little money given to the size of our economy. If you look at countries like Kenya, they collect about 16% tax to GDP, and we can see the difference between Kenya and Tanzania. If you look at South Africa, they are collecting 26% tax to GDP, and I'm sure we can see the difference between Uganda and South Africa. You go to countries like Tunisia, they're collecting about 28% tax to GDP, and I'm sure we can see the difference in our countries. So the first challenge is that we are collecting very little, but our expectations are up there. We are collecting here, and our expectations are there. So we need to narrow that gap if we are to go where to go. But that said, it is true that if people cannot see what taxes are doing, because people's mindset is that they expect goods and services because they have paid taxes, okay? Although that's not entirely true. You see, taxes are not a quid pro quo. It is not that I give you and you give back. No, sometimes you will pay taxes, but your taxes will go to help somewhere in Karamoja where you don't stay. But probably that's where the need, based on the government planning, is. So taxes, ideally, are there to finance government programs for its people, of course. And these government programs would be diverse around the country. So there are many government programs sometimes we don't get to know about. And we think that on our part, even we as the taxman have not done a good job to show Ugandans what their taxes are doing. But if you, for example, move around quite a bit, recently I traveled from here and I went to Karamoja, Kotido. I had not been on that road, I think, in 6 years. What I found shocking, that I was able to travel on tarmac from Kampala to Karamoja. I was shocked to find that even Karamoja, that main street, is more beautiful than some of the streets we have around here. So I said, okay, this is very impressive. But if you have been to places like Isoro and other parts of the country, I have been to Koboko and taken the road to the border, Oraba. It's all tarmacked. So you understand that, okay, the challenge is how many Ugandans will be to Oraba to appreciate that. That's the challenge, isn't it? If you see the extension in terms of electricity, I think there's been a very big shift from where we've been 10 years ago to where we are today. It's not enough yet, but it's not enough because we're not connecting enough. If you look at our health system, it is wanting, but there are people who are actually benefiting from the current health system, even the way it is. Are we together? And not necessarily that these people are paying taxes. It could be my taxes, it could be your taxes, but that is what the government has been able to do. But I think we should also appreciate that as a country, we have been challenged with this habit of corruption. We are collecting little, so there's little to go around. But then some stubborn people, some rotten apples, are still touching in the cookie jar and taking the little that is there. And definitely that dampens the soul for the motivation to pay taxes, isn't it? So I think there is a very big job for us to do as a country. One, to show people more what their taxes are doing. There's a lot that is going on in this country. I have been to Naro, where they do research in agriculture. There are some interesting plant varieties that have been researched that are resistant to weather, resistant to pests. And this is all, government funding that is helping this. If you look at the road infrastructure, when we talk about road infrastructure, people say, no, you see, that money was taken from a loan in the bank. But you are paying for the loan as a taxpayer. You pay the principal, you pay the interest, and everything that goes with it. So at the end of the day, whether money is borrowed or not, You, as the taxpayer, will pay the money. What the borrowing has done is to get money in a lump sum that probably would not have been available, get the road done, and then you begin to repay. At the end of the day, it is your money. So the little that has been able to be done, probably we need to appreciate. If you look at the security we have as a country, I think many young people may not see this, but if you're as old as I am, and you have seen what has been in the past, I mean, you live for the day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Today you'll make plans even for next month, for next Valentine and ABCD, because there is some surety that, somebody's not going to come and just grab a gun and knock you off the road, isn't it? So there are things that the government has been able to do, which we can appreciate, but there is more that is needed to show our youth, our people, what exactly the taxes are doing. We have a job, our parliamentarians have a job, our ministers have a job. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, should be able to show this to people. And I think he does a good job at that. The President has been able to literate most of these things. I want to believe that we, who are down here, have not supported. You see, the one thing that I have learned working with the taxman is this issue of deniability. Everybody who's caught on the wrong side of the law in terms of taxes, you see, there are consequences for non-compliance. You get penalties, you'll pay interest, but everybody who's caught on the wrong side of compliance will claim ignorance. I didn't know. I didn't know. Even when they will know, it is easy to claim not to know. In this today, our age and era, if you are a youth, I want to believe that you are on some form of social media. URA is on Twitter. I am sure we are the biggest government parastatal government agency with the most vibrant, most active, and a Twitter account with the biggest following. You can check. You get me? We are on Facebook. We have a URA TV. We do webinars, and these webinars actually are even stored on YouTube in terms of videos. Simply because we know that there is a following of people who actually consume digital services. We do talk shows on radio. On average, we do about 30 talk shows a week in many languages around the country. We on televisions like Smart Television, I Am Here Today. We are even in the papers. So we have what we call the outreach. We have a Tujenge bus. This is a mobile tax office. We have 2 of them, and we go to areas where we do not have physical presence, to markets, to town centers, to villages, basically educating people on tax, helping people to register for tax, helping people to get payment registration numbers, helping people to get assessments. Onboarding. Onboarding means you have registered for a TIN, and I sit down and take you through the requirements and obligations as a taxpayer. This is how you file a return. This is when you're supposed to pay return. We do onboarding. We do what we call tax catalysts. We do barazas. We have partnered with many institutions. Basically, if there are exhibitions, we are there. So the issue is, if you do not know about URA, you have never been able to interact with URA, for God's sake, we have a WhatsApp number that is powered by a CRM tool. Ask any question, ask for any assistance on WhatsApp. We have basically an entire solution manned by 40 agents just to help you as citizens of Uganda. If all these platforms are available and you do not know URA, I think now there's also a question mark on your desire to be a Ugandan, on your patriotism as a Ugandan. Have you tried? Go to Google and type the Uganda Revenue Authority and see what comes up. A lot of platforms for you to be able to engage. Today people are using even social media to engage us on complaint resolution. You get me? So it is not difficult to access URA. You can either access URA physically, you can contact us through a toll-free line. We actually have 2 toll-free lines. Toll-free means if you have data, airtime, it will not reduce You'll talk to us, we will have a conversation, and your data remains intact. That is if you fear to lose data. You see what I'm trying to say? If you are on social media, we are there. We have tried to make ourselves as available in as many platforms as possible. If you want to visit an office physically, you visit. People come here, people go to our regional offices. We have, I think, about 48 in the country. So it's not difficult. You only either have to ask a friend, go to Google, and you will find the Uganda Revenue Authority. Otherwise, we have made a deliberate effort. That said, we can't say that is enough, okay? What we are doing today, we are encouraging that people don't have to come to us physically. People can engage with us where they are. So we are developing solutions as we move ahead, okay? But we're also making these solutions more simpler. We have just unleashed a customer relationship management tool, which is accessed on our website. Any issue you put in there, you now can track the progress of that issue. Gone are the days where you submit something and you see it and say, it's a week, they haven't gotten back to you, 2 weeks, 1 month, and ABCD. You can actually track and know where your issue is. If there are concerns, when you're reporting, you'll know that I submitted something on this date and it seems to be stuck at this stage, and we will interrogate that matter for you. So we're making it easier. We're making ourselves accessible. All we ask is probably, as Ugandans, as the youth, also be more forthcoming, be more proactive, seek information. We're creating content for you to understand taxes better. We are simplifying content. We are making it in a number of languages. Visit our YouTube channel. There are many recordings in terms of programs we have created just to allow you to understand the subject matter of taxes. Even if you're not happy with what is available, you go on social media and say, look here guys, you're always talking about return filing. I still don't understand return filing. And we will provide content for you on return filing. We will invite you to your nearest location where you can be helped to learn return filing. We will engage you on the available medias on return. We will send a video to you that basically will take you through a step-by-step of return filing.
For you to be a responsible citizen to your government and the community, I hope you've learned as to why you're supposed to tax and do all this whole taxing process. Well, I continue to remind you, Onomo is the right place for you to come and hang out with your friends, family, boyfriends, anyone. It's really a cool place. It's a beautiful place. I am Bronia. Thank you for watching the show.
Taxation has been done and dusted by us and the experts. So as you subscribing, liking and commenting on our beautiful YouTube channel, don't forget to also watch on the DSTV and the GOTV, and as DSTV at 372 and GOTV 394. My name is Martha. Thank you for watching The Lounge.
Taxation has been done, and please people, pay the taxes, comply to your government. Sometime you might be on the verge of entering prison or not, but because you've been paying the taxes, you may not enter prison. I'm just saying. My name is Samali. Please keep watching every week on Saturday throughout the year. We are going to be here to teach and discuss money. It's the Youth Business Lounge. Ciao. Bye.